Hey, what's happening YouTube? Steve from Drifter Gaming here today with another video. Hope you're all doing great after Christmas and New Year. Hope you're all feeling nice and positive heading into the new year and not feeling down and gloomy after the first day back at work for a lot of years. I'm off for another week. I've got a week off from work thankfully, so much needed R&R, I must admit. It's been a long year at work, and give me a chance to catch up on some games, and obviously this being one of them. Last month didn't really get a chance to put as many hours into this as I wanted to, obviously with work and family commitments and such. But after about 35 to 40 hours, and I've now finally beaten Indiana Jones in the Great Circle, I've got maybe say 3 or 4 achievements left to go before I hit the 1000 Gs, which I will definitely be going back for. And yeah, I want to just talk to you a bit about my impressions and what I felt with the game and how I found it and my experience with the game as a whole. So yeah, to start off with, I want to talk to you a bit about the story. Now, the story's set between two classic films from the 80s, which was the Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade. Um, Both brilliant films. If you've not seen it, go back and check them out. They're fantastic. But this game's set right bang in the middle of them. Obviously, it follows Indy in 1937, right in the sort of time of the Nazis and World War Two and all sort of that real grim period in our history. Now, he's basically trying to thwart pretty much forcing the Nazis from harnessing the power that's connected to the Great Circle, which is pretty much throughout the whole of the game you're exploring the Vatican City, Thailand, Egypt, the Himalayas, and Shanghai, and you're going through these various sort of tombs and different areas trying to find pretty much these little sort of cat mummy looking objects, which if you destroy them, they bring out a stone, and once you connect these stones together, um, it pretty much harnesses a power from God, effectively. Now, Indiana Jones, it's all sort of centered around sort of various artifacts from religion and stuff like that. That is basically what Indiana Jones is, and this game's no different, effectively. Now, the story, I must admit, the story was brilliant. I really did enjoy it. I thought it was. There's been a lot of games this year that really flattered to deceive. There's been a lot of good ones, but there's also been some that have been really hyped up, and I've been really looking forward to them. That, frankly, they've pretty much not hit the mark. I must admit. Now, with Indiana Jones, I love the Uncharted series, and I love Tomb Raider. They're two of my favorite series of my life. Basically, I love them both dearly. Uncharted in particular. Now, this one is well up there. It's well up there. I'm not gonna compare them. I know I just have there, so it's gonna sound daft, but I'm not gonna compare them to Uncharted or Tomb Raider. I wanna put Indie in its own bracket, and I must admit, with this one, yeah, it's definitely hit the mark for me personally. The story all the way through, it's very much kept me on the edge of my seat. I wasn't too sure what to expect all the way through, and even right to the last dying embers of the story, it still kept me guessing. Right, is this going to happen? What's going to happen here? And yeah, it's not often now with a game that you get that, especially with sort of like an action adventure game for me now, because a lot of them are generic. They're still fun to play. Don't get me wrong, but there's games now, there's very few and far between that I'll play a game now and be like, wow, that was a real great experience. A lot of time now it's like it's a good experience, it's a fun experience, but it's not one that gets me on the edge of my seat now. It's really not for games like this, but this one certainly did. And yeah, it's definitely one for the story that I think the story was very well written. It was very well thought out. You can tell um there's a lot of love gone into it. You can tell there's a lot of people within that development team that would have been Indiana Jones fans, because you can tell this game's been made sort of from a fan point of view. And yeah, I think they've hit the mark with it. I certainly do. Now, for this review, obviously I've got some good points, I've got some bad points. I want to start off with more the negative to start off with, because in all honesty, there's less negative than there is good. So I'll start off with it. The first one for me, which was the only real bugbearer for me throughout the whole of the game, which was the climbing mechanics. Now, with the climbing mechanics, for the most part, they were good, but for whatever reason, I don't know if it's a bug or it's just the way the games have been designed, but whenever you're going up to walls that are sort of knee high and you're trying to climb over them, it's like it stops you from doing it. You end up just jumping up and down in one spot. And I thought, all right, maybe you need to get a bit of run of pace up. So you run up towards the wall and you try and jump, and it still does the same thing. It's like it blocks you off. Doesn't give you an option to actually climb over it, which for me was very strange. I don't know why they would have that in there. It's something I certainly hope they patch, especially for when it comes out on PS5, because there'll be more people obviously playing it. I hope they don't obviously have that experience as well, because it was, for me, it was probably the more frustrating element of the game, to be honest with you. Um, the other two, the first one was obviously for the weapons. Two of the achievements, I believe, were tied down to obviously killing certain enemies or knocking certain enemies out with specific weapons. Now, when you're picking up fruit or bread, any health items, it will display the name of what that is. So if it's an apple, it will display it. If it's a certain type of bread, it will display it. If it's like a first aid kit sort of thing, it will display it, right? For the weapons, this wasn't always the case. Now, when I'm trying to pick up these weapons, it's not always showing me what the weapon is. Now, that was frustrating in the sense that there was times where I've missed out on getting these achievements because I've not known what the weapon is. Because as stupid as it's going to sound, the weapons look quite similar. Which for me, again, I don't know if it's an oversight from the development team or not, but again, I hope it's something that they patch for a lot of people because for me, it breaks the immersion. And I did find it frustrating, to be fair. And lastly, because I want to get away from the negative, there was again, which you expect of a lot of games now, you do, and this one's no different. There's a usual graphical pop in, um, and really the only one that was kind of frustrating and broke my immersion because graphical pop in is just standard. It's been standard in the industry now for a number of years, especially games like this, the size and scope of it. The only one that frustrated me was in Giza, was trying to jump through. I was trying to jump through sort of like a window, well, climb through a window, not jump, trying to climb through a window. And as you sort of crawl and knelt down, you're trying to get through it. You get wedged, but while you're wedged, it's like you can't actually move. So if you're trying to stand up or you're trying to move, it's like you get wedged between the window and the roof of the building. And it was more funny, to be fair, than anything, but it's one of them that really you would hope that with patches to come, especially after Christmas and people getting back to work now, that that's something they can look into and they can patch and sort out because again it's something that does distract away from your immersion. Now, the bad stuff's done. Let's go on to the good things. As you'll see on screen in a minute, you'll see me die. But for the most part, you'll see how good that combat looks. Now, with the combat, I have to say it's brilliant. The way that they've designed it, the way that they thought it out is absolutely fantastic. Now, you can use guns in this game, but for me, an Indiana Jones game should never be about guns. It should be about using your whip, using your fists, and that's exactly what I did with this game, was use my whip and my fists. Now, you'll get various fight clubs through through three of the different places in the game that you have to take out three enemies within them, and it's brilliant. Being able to block it, being able to throw punches, and it's very satisfying when you land that punch, like you got an enemy that's blocking it now. Once he obviously takes his block away, and then you can land that punch. It's very satisfying, and it's the way the attention to detail that they've put in the game, that when you're throwing these punches and you're landing them, you can physically see their faces start to scar up, they're bruising up, the nose is getting broken, and it's very reminiscent of what you'd see if you're like in a boxing match or a UFC match, for example. That when you're starting to get these punches landing on people, they start to bruise up and that they start to show the effects of that fight. And this game's no different. And for me, that was really one of the big pluses of this game, was the combat. It's far exceeded anything that I expected it to be, and I don't mean that to be a disservice to Machine Games, but I really did think it was far better than I ever expected it to be. And yeah, I'll touch on the visuals now while we're talking about obviously the attention to detail. The visuals in this game were absolutely stunning. They really are absolutely stunning. Now, there was the first part of the game for me when you reach the Vatican City. There's a part where you have to climb through a building basically and get out onto a ledge, and you get to see an overview of the Vatican City with the moonlight beaming down onto the surface. And my word, it looks incredible. It looks absolutely stunning, and that's just part and parcel of this game. Wherever you go, whatever locale you go to, everything looks beautiful. It looks beautiful. It looks perfect. It looks incredible. That's why I say with the graphical pop in, that part of the issues didn't really bother me as such, because I was more marveling at what I was seeing around me than anything, and it looks absolutely beautiful. It really did. And yeah, it's like most things with this game, the way that they've done it, it's so well thought out. It's so loved, I guess is the best way to put it. Like for me, touching on the side missions, they feel like main missions. They feel like main missions. It's not like certain games, and this will be controversial, but I played Final Fantasy 16 a good few years ago, and when I played FF16, my biggest bugbear with that game was pointless side missions that would ask you to go and pick up something to go and deliver it to somebody else, and then rinse and repeat that, and then rinse and repeat that, and you were just coming off the back of an epic boss fight. Probably, for me, FF16's got some of the best boss fights you can ever get in a game, but you were coming off the back of that, and you're thinking to yourself, Christ, man, why am I doing this? I want to be doing something that's fun, not just randomly being an errand boy for people. But with this game, every side mission's handcrafted. It ties into the main missions. You feel like it's a main mission. Um, you really do. You really do. There's not a single part about a side mission that you think's boring. Like they're all absolutely fantastic. It's just like everything with this game. It's so well done. Now, I know the biggest bugbear for a lot of people when this game was originally shown off was it was going to be in first person, and people didn't like that. Yeah, don't worry about it. The first person's absolutely perfect for this game. It's very immersive. You feel like you're Indiana Jones. You basically feel like you're just sitting down watching the film. That's the best way I can describe it. You just feel like you're watching a new Indiana Jones film. That classic 80s vibe. That's exactly what you feel like you're doing, and it's absolutely perfect. It's perfect for this. It's exactly what I would have wanted it to be. And it's exactly what we've got. And yeah, I really do think that's good. Now, you do get a better third person. You'll get third person when you go from the main menu into the game. You'll get third person when you're climbing a ladder. You'll get third person, obviously in cutscenes, and you'll get third person when you're climbing across crevices and you're navigating through the world when it's areas that are sort of more generic, I guess. And it works well. The transition between first and third is absolutely perfect. The way that they've done it is very well thought out. Um, the next bit I want to touch on, and it's the last top point I really will touch on with the good points. To be fair, I want to touch on Troy Baker. I want to give Troy Baker his flowers here. Absolutely perfect. Now, my first experience with Troy Baker was in The Last of Us back in 2013. Marveled at him then, and 11 years on, I'm doing the exact same. What a guy! What a man! What an actor! The way that he's portrayed Indiana Jones here is absolutely perfect. It really is absolutely perfect. He's done an absolutely outstanding job here. To be able to pull off one of the most iconic actors in history, effectively, in one of the most iconic franchises in history, to be able to nail that the way that he's done it is absolutely outstanding. What a job the guy's done. What an absolutely great job that guy has done. To be able to do that with such confidence, with such ease, more than anything. Like, there's not even a single part of this game that you're playing, you're thinking, maybe that doesn't fit. No, it's absolutely perfect. And he's done brilliant. And his character, absolutely, the chemistry between him, between Gina, which is sort of your sidekick for most of the game, and with Voss is sort of like the evil guy. He's part of the Nazis that's trying to find the Great Circle, and yeah, he's the way he portrays that as well. He's brilliant. It's going to sound really stupid, and some of you won't get the reference, but for me, he reminds me a lot of Doctor Evil. Now, Doctor Evil was part of Austin Powers in the late 90s, early 2000s, and he was sort of this comical bad guy trying to obviously blow up the world and trying to kill Austin Powers. Now, that's exactly what Voss reminded me of, is sort of with a less sort of comical side of it, the more serious side, I guess. But the way that he portrays that, of sort of having that bad guy, not caring, just all out to basically get Indy, but make sure he gets the artifacts that he needs to get as well. It's done so well. Now, the thing that got me the most was the mind games. Now, there's a part of the game where you've got another German that's sort of really, really close to Hitler that's been asked to help Voss on this mission that absolutely despises Voss, can't stand him. And there's a part of the mission, I don't want to explain, I don't want to spoil it, but after that mission, it's like Voss is in his head and has convinced him that, no, you're basically doing me the favor. You're not doing a job here. You're not helping Hitler. You're doing me the favor, and you owe me, type of thing. And the mind games that he was playing, it was brilliant. It really was brilliant to watch out on screen and play it out, and to see just how, I guess it's reminiscent of real life, just how easily people can get into other people's heads and convince them of things. And yeah, it was brilliant the way that it was done. And it's like most things with this game. Just yeah, it's like most things with this game. Everything feels so handcrafted. Everything feels so well done. It just feels, you just feel like the way that they've designed this game. Now, I was like many, I had a lot of doubts before this game came out. I wasn't 100% convinced that Machine Games could pull it off, and it wasn't to have a disservice to them, because the Wolfenstein games that they've created have been brilliant. They really have. But for me, it was always because it's such an iconic franchise and it's such a difficult franchise to sort of emulate. I wasn't overly convinced they could do it. But they have. They've proven me and a lot of people wrong. They really have. They've done a fantastic job here. And the best compliment I can give it is I wouldn't want to compare it to Uncharted or Tomb Raider. I wouldn't. I would put this in a bracket on its own. I really would. I would put it in a bracket on its own. Um, and I think a lot of games will be comparing themselves to Indiana Jones in the years to come. I really do believe that. Now, I've heard rumors and rumblings that they're now making a couple more games, or sorry, looking into making more games in Indiana Jones. And if it's Machine Games making it, I'm all for it. I really am all for it. It's a franchise that I hold dear. I really do love Indiana Jones, and I love Machine Games, especially for the Wolfenstein games they've created, and now this absolute masterpiece. Yeah, it's brilliant. It really is brilliant. It's a game that Xbox desperately needed. It's a game that I think after 2024, there's been a lot of good games, but due to performance issues, obviously the layoffs in the industry, various different problems within gaming, I think this is one that we really needed as a whole. And I'm so delighted that we got it. We got a 10 out of 10 game, right bang at the end of the year, which again just makes it a mockery of the Game Awards. The fact that this game wasn't even in contention for it when it should have been. I still will never understand that. Don't get me wrong, the games that have been nominated, they fully deserve it, they do, but to not have something like this and a game of the year, it really is baffling for me. It's absolutely crazy. I'll never understand it. Um, but yeah, I mean, what a job, what a game, what an experience. Obviously, this is on Game Pass. It's on Game Pass. I would never really usually recommend people to spend 60, 70 quid on a game, just due to obviously the climate that we're living in at the moment. But for this one, I really would encourage you all to go out and buy it. I really would. If you're in a position to do so, go out and buy it. It's a brilliant experience. It's one that you'll not forget. It's one that you'll not be disappointed with, even if this isn't really your sort of usual style of game. Just give it a try because it's so good. The puzzles are brilliant, the graphics are beautiful, the characters are incredible, the gameplay's fantastic. Yeah, give it a go and see how you find it because I guarantee you'll love it. I really do. And for me personally, it was a brilliant way to round off the year and the start of the year. For 2025, especially with the games that we've got coming out this year, potentially GTA 6, Doom, um, Outer Worlds 2, Fable. I could keep going and going and going. This one definitely, yeah, what an experience. What a way to kick off 2025. What a way to end 2024. All I'll say is definitely play it. But for me, guys, that's everything. Let me know in the comments down below if you plan to pick up Indie, and let me know how you find it. Anyways, guys, until next time, take care.